All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Jessica Ruth Knits podcast. I am Jessica, your host, and this is a podcast about knitting. Today is the 22nd of January 2018, and this is episode 31. So thanks, y'all, for stopping by and hanging out with me. I do have some ambient noise today. The dogs are out and about and eating and drinking. I've been gone all day at a funeral, so I just got home. So if you hear them in the background, I'm terribly sorry for the dog noises. In fact, here's a little puppy right now. Say hi. This is Houston, our newest puppy. He's about 10 weeks old, a little boxer, and our other dog is a 14-year-old boxer. So, yeah, they are my co-hosts today. So it is about like 4:15 in the afternoon. So I'm probably going to be losing the light. I had a funeral today for my grandfather's sister, who I had only met, a couple of times. But I more went to the funeral to support my grandparents and be with them. But it took all day. So I thought it would be like an hour or two. But the funeral was at the funeral home, and then it was probably an hour drive to the graveside. Down like a backcountry road, dirt road, barely any houses on the road, windy. It was all muddy because it had just stormed last night. So between the two services, the drive time, there to the funeral home and then to the graveside and then back, and then we ate lunch, it just took all day long. So so I'm recording way later than I planned, but better late than never, right? So let's get started. I'll see if I can put him down without him barking. I have two finished objects today. The first one is the Vinty cardigan. This is, I think you guys are tilted. Hold on. Is that better? Okay, I think so. Last time I showed you, I can't remember if I'd finished it and just hadn't blocked it, or if I just needed to put the button band on, but in any case, now it is finished and blocked. It just needs buttons. So this is the Vinty, V-I-N-T-Y cardigan by Gabrielle Dansknit, I think. And it's just like that. Hold on, let me see if I can't. Obviously, it would be easier to show you with buttons, but like that. The yarn is just Knit Picks. Knit Picks sock. I have it all listed in my Ravelry page. On Ravelry, I am Sergeant Griff's Girl. So it's SGTGRIFFS Girl, G-I-R-L. So you can find all of my pattern notes. If I do any modifications, I try to write them down on Ravelry so that I know what I did and you guys know if you want to make the same modification. But on this one, I followed it just as the pattern was written. You had the option of putting in pockets or not. I decided not to, since this is the smallest size. I just thought pockets would take up too much of the front of it. But yeah, it is done. I am super excited. Just a simple little cardigan. For those of you who don't know, we are 6 months pregnant. We're 22 and a half weeks along, and we are not finding out the gender of the baby. So all the baby knits that I'm making are gender neutral, if they're for our baby. So I thought, I just thought this was a super sweet little cardigan. Excited to finally have it off my needles. I started it maybe a year and a half ago. Oh, hush. And then I had just put it aside, and I found it in my pile of works in progress. So that one's one more done for the baby. Then I cast on, and I told myself that I didn't really, I can slow down on baby knits because I have a bunch. But they're so addicting, and they're so quick and so fun. So I thought what I would do is cast on a baby knit, but not try to finish it in time for the podcast. Maybe just like have it on, as a gradual work in progress. But I finished it. I cast it on and finished it. Now, this one is like the baby sweater from hell. I thought I was doing the Antler pattern by Tin Can Knits, and that is a cardigan as well. but I decided I would make it a pullover. And I'm used to doing sweaters from the neck down, especially raglan ones, like just from the neck down. This one was bottom up. So you knit the two sleeves, and you knit them like to here, and then you knit the body to here, then you cast them, or you join them all on one needle, and you decrease here for the yoke, which produces a ton of ends to weave in, because you have to cut the yarn after this sleeve, you have to cut the yarn after this sleeve, then you have the body, and I don't know, the way it had you put 6 stitches on the underarm on a holder, and 6 stitches from the body from the underarm, and then you grafted those two together, but you had to cut your yarn, it was like in the middle of the 6 stitches, so in between these two, your yarn was cut. If the pattern would have just had you knit 3 stitches before you put the sleeve stitches on a holder, you could have used that end to Kitchener those 6. But instead, it had you cut it here, so then you had to join another piece of yarn to Kitchener the 6 on both sides. So then you have 3 ends on each armpit, plus, I don't know, it was just a ton of ends to weave in. Oh, stop, let go. Sorry, the puppy just grabbed it. Then I was holding 2, stop. People don't want to hear you bark. I'll show you the yarn first. These are both Herb Splat Regina, which I had never used before. One of them is Don't Call Me Honey, and I forget what the other one is. But again, they're on my Ravelry project page. So this top one, was a little too brown, I thought, for a baby sweater. And this one was a little too pale for a baby sweater. I'm not a pastel person at all, and as you can tell, like, most of my baby knits are not pastel either. But I thought holding those two together, I needed a worsted yarn, and I didn't have one that I wanted to use for this pattern. So since those are both fingering, I thought I would just hold them together and it would make a super cute baby sweater. So that's what I did. So then for each end I had 2 ends really, but I just wove those in together. I didn't weave them in separately. So without further ado, I'll show you this. I'll show you the sweater, and then I'll explain why it was the sweater from hell, aside from just all the ends to weave in. So again, I made it a pullover, and it's like this, and you can see the chevrons on the back. Okay, so I was afraid the neck, because it would just be like that, I was afraid it would be too tight to go over a baby's head. Since the pattern is a cardigan, you don't have to worry about that because you'll unbutton it and button it. But I was afraid it would be too tight. So what I did is, right after I joined it, I didn't break the yarn, but to make the button band, I picked up, so I'd accounted for these 5 stitches here. I picked up the ladders for those 5 stitches. So that way they would overlap perfectly for a button band. So that worked out pretty well. I have 2 little buttonholes. Hey, don't chew on the stand. Sorry, it's the puppy. I have 2 little buttonholes, one there, one there. Houston, come on. Okay, let's see if I can do this with a dog. It'll just be practice for with the baby, right? Okay, hopefully you guys are fine. What I didn't read in the pattern was there's supposed to be purl ridges between each of these antlers. So mine just look like chevrons because they meet. No, they don't meet in the pattern. They just are like V's stacked like this, with purl ridges in between. So the first time I joined for the yoke, I was on my 3rd round of the cables, and I realized that I had miscounted on round 1, and so my cables were off. So I had to rip out 4 rows, go back to the beginning before the cables, and do it again. Then I thought I read the pattern, and obviously I didn't, because I the pattern gives you a 16 stitch cable chart. It doesn't include in the chart the purl stitches in between each 16. So it's really, I don't know, like a 20 or a 22 stitch repeat. But it doesn't show you that in the chart. It just tells you that in the written directions. And I don't like to really read written directions, so I just looked at the chart and thought it's a 16 stitch repeat. So because I had the 5 stitches here on each end, I took my total number of stitches, minus 10, 5 for each side of the button band, and divided that by 16. And then I decreased down to that number so that I had repeats of 16. Sorry if you guys can hear the wind. That's our addition. There's like an overhang on the metal roof, and so it's super windy, super crazy, and super loud. But that's what that crazy noise is in the background. And the dog's eating, so there's that noise too. Anyways, so I had my 5 stitches on each end. I had my my 16 stitch repeats, and I just looked at the chart and went to town. And I got all the way through the first chart. Houston, stop. I got all the way through the first chart, and then the second chart is the decrease chart, and all of a sudden there's purl stitches included. And I was like, but I don't have any purl stitches. Like, I don't understand. And so I went back to before the chart 1, and I read the written directions, and it says include however many purl stitches in between each repeat. So I wasn't going to take out the whole repeat of the first chart, because at this point I was over it. I'd already ripped out the charts, or the cables once, did not want to have to do it again, so I just said, forget it, I'll figure it out on my own, because it really wouldn't have been that big of a deal, except that the decrease for the yoke was worked into those purl stitches. So, stop, look, he just fell. He's fine. He's a puppy. So the decrease was worked into those purl stitches, which I didn't have, so, which meant I had no way of decreasing for the yoke. Hold on, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, there. So I had to make up decreases in the cable chart. I don't know. I just looked at the number of stitches I should have at the end, and I just finagled it to go down there. These modifications will not be on my Ravelry project page because I just did them on the fly, didn't write them down. I was so sick of messing up on the cables that I didn't even want to bother. So if I do this pattern again, I will do it correctly as the pattern is written, instead of not reading the directions and just doing whatever the heck I thought the pattern should be. So it still turned out super cute. It's hard to see in the light, but it's got cables, it's yellow, it's neutral. I need to find 2 little buttons for the back, and it'll be done. So I did the 6 to 12 month size, which still looks pretty little, but our baby is due the end of May, so I figure it's not going to need a sweater in Arkansas. We live in Arkansas, in the South, in the summer. So any of the sweaters that I'm doing in the little sizes, I shouldn't say any, most of them, I'm doing in finger weight, so they're lighter, you know, just more of something light to throw on over baby. This one is definitely thicker, so I did it in a bigger size, thinking that baby would be 6 months about for the winter, when baby might want a thick sweater. So 2 finished objects. Okay. Sorry. You guys got to see my boobs. Okay, Whiskey, go. Hold on. Go. Go. Whiskey, go. Oh, hold on. Okay, let's try this again. The big dog tried to go under the camera tripod, and she can't. She's way too big for that. So she's on the right side of the tripod now. Hopefully we're done with that. In any case, 2 sweaters for baby finished this week and locked. Done. Then I was looking through my yarn stash to see what I wanted to cast on, and I found this little sweater that I had started I don't know, a few years ago when I nannied in Texas. and I believe it's the baby Papurium, I think. But it's just a simple little Whiskey, stop going under the tripod. It's a simple little like kimono sweater type. I nannied for 2 little baby boys, and I think I was gonna knit them coordinating sweaters, but just never knit the second one. So I have this one. It buttons all down the side here, and so it goes like up the side, and then it crosses over for the raglan part. It is kind of short and wide, so maybe more like a cropped sweater. I don't know. Just simple stockinette. But I found it, and it's all done. It just needs buttons. So I'll be finding some buttons, I guess, for this. The yarn is super cool. I don't know if it'll show up with the light. Yeah, see how there's like flecks of color in there? So I might try to pull out one of those colors for the buttons. And just put some buttons on there. But again, I did not knit this one in the past few years, but it'll go into baby's wardrobe. And if baby wears it, and if not, my heart's not broken, because obviously I knit it for somebody and forgot about it. Hush. Okay, look, come up. He just wants to cuddle, but it's very annoying when you're trying to do something else. Look, say hi. Say hi. Got in my shirt. There. Say hi to everybody. Oh, say hi. Okay, works in progress. I have 2. One is a sweater for me, and I'm trying to slow myself down with knitting because I tend to, the big dog's gonna try to go under the tripod. Slow? Okay, she did it. I tend to be like super gung-ho about something and cast on and then obsess about that and then finish it like that week. And I don't really need, I mean, I have plenty of knitted sweaters. I have plenty of shawls, plenty of socks, plenty of baby things. So it's not like I'm knitting because I need the garment. But, so I want to like slow down and be more intentional about not just flying through projects. Because I am a fast knitter, and then I get, I don't know, I finish things too fast, I feel like, which is, I don't know, a weird problem to have, but it's, it just gets frustrating because, I don't know, that the excitement of knitting that thing only lasts for, what? Stop. Only lasts for like the week that I'm knitting it, and then I'm on to something else. So I thought I'd rather have a couple more projects that I'm actively working on and have them take a little bit longer, so that way I can enjoy them for longer. Okay, let's see if I can put him down. See if he'll go play with the big dog. So, this one is for me. The yarn is, oh my goodness guys, I have been hoarding this yarn because I absolutely love it and I couldn't figure out what to do with it. It's Countess Ablaze in the colorway Girl at the Rock Show. So look at that. It's got neons, it's got purples, turquoises, some like pinkish, and mostly white. So I had 3 of these. They're all a little bit different. I mean, they're close enough. But, oh, look at that. It's so fun. So I wanted to do something more than just like a shawl, but 3 isn't enough to do a full sweater for me. And I don't know, with being pregnant, I don't want to knit a pullover for me, and I plan on breastfeeding after baby's here. So to have a sweater, like a pullover sweater, and have to breastfeed, you would just have to either take it off or like lift it all the way up, and then that's awkward because it's all bunched. I don't know. So I'm basically down to like cardigans or shawls. So I found this pattern. I can't even think of what the name of it is. Shift to Focus. That's what it is. I want to say it's by Melanie Berg. Again, this one is on my Ravelry page, and it's kind of like a crossover cardigan. So it's supposed to, so like it comes to here, and then it's like here, and it buttons and buttons. like a military style, like 2 rows of buttons. And then like right under your boobs, it kind of like flows away and just, there's like a V where it overlaps, and then it goes around your back. So it's not a full cardigan at all. Houston, stop, buddy. It's not a full cardigan at all. So I thought it'd be perfect because I only have the 3 skeins. So I have a very ample chest, so I didn't want, hush guys, stop. Sorry. So I didn't want buttons like right here. A lot of the buttons on people's projects were like nipple height, and it just looks kind of weird. So I thought I would, because I can't just do the pattern as is written, I thought I would join it so it would be all solid here, and then underneath, like right at nipple length, it would separate and go how it's supposed to. Houston, come here, stop. So I joined it, and right now, like, it's not much of anything. I mean, it is, but the colors are what I'm in love with. And I don't know if, because we're losing the light. Okay, look at that. Oh, like so cool. So I have to knit this for miles and miles. It has the back of it. It has short rows on the back so that the back, so it sits better. And I love when sweaters have the short rows in the back. So the front of it, this is the front, and then the back is quite a bit wider. So I still have to do garter stitch for, I think it's like 10 inches, to go all the way under my armpits. And the only bummer is because it's written as a cardigan in garter stitch, it's super easy, but because I'm doing it in the round, you have to knit a row, purl a row. And the purl rows, I don't know, just take forever. But I absolutely love the colors. I think it's going to be perfect for being pregnant, and for breastfeeding afterwards, because it's not, like, it's open, kind of, but it'll still cover your boob. So, I think it'll be perfect. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm wanting to take my time and just work on it and enjoy the process, and not hurry through it like I always do. You can see the sheepskin moving because the dog's playing with it. But he's quiet, so I'm not going to argue that. So these all live in my By the Lakeside bag, which is one of my favorite bags. It's a huge size, like you could fit, I mean, I've got 3 skeins in there and it comes up to there. So you could fit 5 skeins of yarn in here. It's just super cute. The inside is pretty. It's got these little bees like that. Yeah, so there's so much room in here. So I love this bag. Okay, I have one more work in progress, and then that's it. Oh, that wind is horrible. Last night it stormed so bad. We were under a tornado warning, and it was just so windy. It was like 55, 60 at night until I opened the windows because it wasn't raining when I went to bed, and then I woke up and rain was just like pelting inside. So the dog just fell off the couch again. So I had to like get up in the middle of the night and close the windows because I didn't want it to get wet inside. Anyways, my last work in progress. I have 2 of these skeins of yarn. This is long dog yarn, which I've never used before. It's like a tangerine color. The colorway is pumpkin spice. It's an 80-20, which is my absolute favorite blend of yarn to work with. It's super springy, super squishy. I don't know, I just love 80-20. So because I had 2, I didn't know what to do with them. I could knit a baby something, but most baby things don't even need 2 skeins, and unless it's like a bigger size. But by the time I need a bigger size, I'll know the sex of baby. I mean, like, baby will be here and I can knit a boy something or a girl something. So I didn't want to, it's like such a pretty gender neutral color. So what I thought would be really cool to do is to knit a pair of socks for myself, for my husband Tim, and for the baby for the hospital. Or at least like for when we come home from the hospital and we can take sock pictures. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have 2 skeins. My husband wears a size 13 shoe, US, which is huge. I've only ever knit him 1 pair of socks before because, frankly, it just takes forever. And I don't even think he can wear those socks because I haven't woven the ends yet. And I don't know where they are, in some project bag somewhere. But, so he normally needs a tad bit more than 1 skein, or 1 skein with contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes. So that way I can maximize the yardage. Houston, stop. Come here. Come here. Don't bother her. She just wants to sleep. So what I thought I would do is knit my socks first. And then I'm going to make shorty socks for me because that's what I tend to wear. Especially if I'm in the hospital, I don't need full socks. And I don't know, I just always wear shorty socks. I'm always hot. So, I don't know, wearing normal size or long socks doesn't really appeal to me. So I thought, okay, I have 2 skeins of yarn. First, I'm going to do each skein separately. So I'll knit from the first skein, I'll knit 1 shorty sock for me and 1 baby sock. And then I'll do the same from the second skein. So then I know I have equal remainders of each skein for Tim's socks. And that way I can do his toe up. And I can just knit until I run out of yarn so they'll be as tall as they end up being. If I knit his first as tall as he would prefer, I run the risk of running out of yarn for my socks or for baby. And since I mainly want these for a picture, then that wouldn't really work. So I can always do like contrasting cuff for Tim if I need to. But I think by doing shorty socks for me, I should have plenty of extra yardage in the skein for Tim's. So that's the plan. Yeah, so I wound up the first skein in a little ball. And guys, okay, so I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, right before California, I think, I broke my ball winder. It was on the floor, and because it must have been longer than 6 months ago. We were moving out of the camper into the tiny house, and I was like boxing up everything, and I'd had the ball winder on the ground, and somehow like a shirt or a sweatshirt got over it, and I didn't notice, and I sat on it, and it was like the Knit Picks ball winder, and it just crunched and broke. So for a while I just hand wound all my balls, and I mean that was tedious, but I have a Swift, so it was fine, because the Swift is the more important of the two, because you can hand wind a ball easy off a Swift. It's harder if you have to have the yarn like draped on your knees or on a chair. But in any case, when I was out in California, I bought the Stanwood, I believe it is, ball winder. It was like $70 on Amazon, which is a lot, but it's not, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the Knit Picks one is like $25, $30. So it's really like a little bit over double the Knit Picks one. And it is so well made. It produces the most gorgeous, perfect cakes. Like better than the ones we used to make at the yarn shop with our super expensive Swift and winder. So if any of you guys are in the market for a ball winder that's under $100, look up the Stanwood on Amazon. And if you have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping. But anyways, yeah, I mean, obviously I am not, hi Houston, I am not being paid to say that, but I just wanted to let you know, if you guys, don't chew my hair. If you guys need a new ball winder, I wholeheartedly recommend the Stanwood. I don't think there's different kinds, I think it's just the one. So mine is green, I think they're all green. It's like heavy duty metal, stop. And obviously it has a plastic cone, but other than that, it is not plasticky at all. So this is the start of my sock. I cast on 12 for the toe, and I increase up to 32. I just do the standard every other, stop eating the yarn. He's not allowed on the couch unless we're just holding him, because I like put all my yarn projects up here and he likes to chew on the yarn. So he thinks he's getting away with something super special right now. But yeah, I just do the standard every other row increase on either side. So every other row you're increasing 4, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. Yeah, so I mean it's just a stockinette sock toe up. We tried to go to the movies and have a date the other night. Thursday, I think? I don't know, Friday, I don't know. Whatever. We tried to have a date and it like, just everything kept falling apart. We went to the first movie theater and we were gonna go see the movie 12 Strong. Tim's, like, he used to be in the military and he's a sheriff now. So he loves all those military history movies. And I can handle intense movies as long as I have knitting. But it needs to be a project like this where I can do it in the dark. I don't have to look. I don't have to do any ribbing. So I thought on the drive to the movies, because it's like 40 minutes away, I could get the toe done, and then during the movie I could just knit on the bottom of the sock. But we get there, we go up to buy tickets, and the lady's like, oh yeah, the online ticket times are wrong. So the next movie wasn't playing for an hour. And the movie theater we were going to, it has like the old uncomfortable seats, whereas there's a movie theater up in Little Rock, which is like an hour away, so not that much further than where we were, that has the nice like recliner seats. So we thought we would go, if we had an hour then to wait, we would just drive up to Little Rock and go to the comfy theater. But so we drive up there to Little Rock, which is only like 15 minutes more than where we were. The theater probably has 100 people, 100 people waiting outside to buy tickets. Tim and I were like, no way. Tim doesn't really like crowds, and I didn't really care to see the movie that much anyways. Like, I would just be going to see it because Tim wants to see it, and because I had knitting. So it was just, then we're an hour away from home and we didn't even get to see the movie that we tried to go to. But we got to go to tacos, so it wasn't a total waste of a date, but it was just frustrating because we drove and drove and drove and didn't even get to go see the movie. So we'll go see it another day, probably like a weekday. It was also the premiere day, whatever day we were going, so everybody was out, everybody wanted to see it. It must have been the weekend because everybody was there. So so I did all this like hurrying to get to the stockinette part and be done with the toe for nothing. But I got knitting done, so it wasn't a total waste. So I think the socks I'm just gonna keep like in the car as my car knitting. If we end up randomly going to a movie, I'll have them there. Obviously I still have a few months or a couple months before I need to have these all done, but yeah, I mean, we're going out to California in February for a baby shower, so I imagine I'll take them for my plain knitting. Yeah, but I'm not in a hurry to finish them, but at the same time I do have Tim's mammoth ones to do after this, and then babies, which will take nothing. But yeah, so that's all I have to show you guys this week. I'm so sorry for all the interruptions. Usually I try to record like mid-morning around noon when there's good light and the dogs have been out, you know, and so they kind of just sleep. But I just took them on a walk before podcasting, thinking that might tire them out. So the big dog, you can't see her, but she's right at my feet, asleep on her bed. You might even hear her snoring. It's just the little one that's annoying the heck out of her. He thinks I don't know if he thinks she's his mom, but he keeps trying to nurse on her, and so he like bites her nipples, and she gets so mad, and it's like she'll turn around and growl at him, but he just doesn't get it. Stop. Look, now he's trying to bite my hand. He just doesn't get when she like barks at him and growls at him that he's not supposed to do whatever he was doing. So he keeps trying to nurse on her nipples, and she hasn't had babies in 10, 12 years. So there's absolutely nothing there for him to get, but he's very persistent in trying nonetheless. And he was weaned when we got him, so I don't know if he just thinks since she looks like his mom that maybe he could nurse. I don't know. But the poor guy tries so hard. He gets an A for effort. Stop. He's definitely in the biting phase, which is annoying, and we've got him all these chew toys, and he just wants to bite your shoes or your hand or whiskey, the dog whiskey. But he's still super cute. So there's the wind again. Hopefully you guys can't hear that as loud as I can. Yeah, so this week I don't know if I'm gonna have any new cast-ons. I really want to put a couple more squares in my cozy memory blanket. I could show you that real quick. Hold on. Oh, I think it's right. Is it right there? Yeah. I keep this on the couch because I cover my legs with it. But it's getting really big, guys. Like, it just keeps going and going and going and going. I have to hide it behind the quilt because it has all the ends, and the puppy likes to chew on the ends. So since I don't want him chewing on it, I kind of tuck it behind the quilt on the couch. But I would like to put quite a few more squares on this up, you know, in the next month or so. So maybe instead of knitting baby things, maybe I'll just work on my sweater, my sock, and my blanket. Yeah, right. I mean, I'll probably cast on something for baby. But, we'll see. I'm not planning anything. Okay, the dogs are getting restless. Whiskey just wants to sleep, and the puppy is climbing all over her. So, that would annoy me too. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with all of the dog interruptions today. Yeah, thanks for coming. If you are new, welcome. Well, regardless, welcome so much. If you're new, I'm glad you found me. And if you're not new, I'm glad you came back. So, thank you so much. I'm gonna go and deal with the dogs. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.